Hello, everybody, and welcome to the January of 2024 safety meeting. This is done as a service to my channel members from the perspective of me just talking to the people that drive here. The rest of you are welcome to listen in to fulfill your compliance duties. If you have your own authority, you're required to do at least 2 safety meetings per year for your drivers. If you don't have any drivers, it's just you. You technically probably don't have to do it, but do it anyway. It looks good in the case of an on-site audit. This one I may make public to everybody just to give everybody a sample of and a reminder of what they need to be doing to help fulfill compliance. But generally every month this is a members only thing. Now this one's going to be particularly short, got a lot to do today, but I want to go back to last month. We talked about winter driving and being safe in winter driving and some things to carry. I want to go back to that a little bit and talk about taking care of your equipment in the wintertime to ensure you're more of a safe driver, and then also preventing some failures so that you yourself are not in any particular danger of freezing, sitting in Wyoming when the road is shut down, and freezing in your truck, or not being prepared, not having food. Last month we talked about having food, water, blankets, clothes, all these kinds of things. Let's talk a little bit more about taking care of your equipment. And this was just something I put together quickly. If you have more winter taking care of your truck tips for other drivers, leave them in the comments below. Because here in Wisconsin, we've been in the middle of a brutal cold snap here for about the last week. And every time I go out and go up and down the interstate, truck after truck after truck froze up on the side of the road. Now, there's only so many mechanics to help so many people at the same time. So chances are you're going to sit there for a good number of hours waiting for help to arrive. So try not to put yourself in that position anyway. I was at the truck stop 3 days ago. It was like 11 below zero. And I'm telling you, that wind was howling. That wind chill was brutal. And this dude pulls up next to me, gets out of his truck in cut-off sweatpants shorts, the old pair of sweatpants, cut off at the knees, wearing open-toed sandals with no socks. I'm like, if you freeze to death, that's your own damn problem. If you get frostbite on your toes, you will regret you did this. God help you, I hope you're not diabetic. You got to take care of your feet when you're diabetic. But that's just foolish. That's just stupid. You're not on vacation. Dress appropriately for the winter conditions. But hey, whatever. You break down on the side of the road and you don't have any regular shoes, and your toes get frostbite and fall off, don't come crying to me. Okay. Now let's start with, excuse me, on the tractor, your air tanks. Most of your trucks, at least they used to, I see it less and less these days, have a hose or a cable coming off your air tanks. Usually they're connected somewhere up by where you fill your tanks, so that every day when you're filling your tanks or walking around, you can just pull on that cable and you hear a ch. Okay, that's draining some air out of your air tanks, and in the process, it's draining some water out. Okay, so every day get in the habit of pulling on those cables and draining your air tanks. Okay, it can help getting that moisture through your system and freezing up your air system, and then you're just stuck. You can't release your brakes. Okay, and if you don't have those cables, it may be worth just climbing under your truck. Most of them have a little nipple on the end of that plug where you can just move it with your thumb, and then you can visibly see how much water is coming out. Try to do this when the truck is warm. The air will be a little bit warmer, and the water won't be frozen in ice. Had a truck come in one time, and the wet tank had, I don't think that thing had ever been drained. It had gallons of water in it. Just pulled the plug and let it run out. That truck had frozen up. But anyway, drain your air tanks regularly. Okay, and then take care of your fuel. Make sure your fuel's treated. Make sure you carry, if you're a company driver, you may not want to do all these things, but it can't hurt anyway. Ask your company for an extra fuel filter and get yourself a wrench. Learn how to change that fuel filter. There's plenty of videos online how to change a fuel filter, how to change that Davco filter. I have one. It's not that hard. You'll need a little bit of extra fuel, right? And this is, if you're a company driver, you say, hey, it's not my problem. Well, if you're the one sitting on the side of the road, it kind of is your problem. You might not have to wait for a service truck for 6 hours to get there if you can change your own filter. Okay, and keep your fuel tanks above half full. it helps keep the moisture out of your fuel tanks. When you sit overnight in the brutal cold and you just go crack that cap off your fuel tank and look down in there, you're going to see ice crystals around that fill hole. And then if you look down, you may probably see ice crystals in any void spot in your fuel tank. And when your fuel tank heats up, that melts and it turns to water in your fuel, which it's not good for your fuel to have water in it. But it also, when it gets to your Davco or wherever, it turns to ice. And then you got problems. You don't want a lot of moisture in your fuel. So keeping your fuel tanks at a high level can help prevent that. Carrying some air brake antifreeze and a hammer. If you get a lot of moisture in your system, say you get it in your trailer brakes, right? You could put a little in your glad hand and push the button in and get it back there. A hammer. Make sure you're checking when you roll first thing in the morning that your brakes are not locked up. If it is, you need to go back, push the red button in on the trailer, go back and tap that brake drum with a hammer until you'll hear a clunk and that brake releases. Okay, and then you're good to go. You check again before you roll out. Make sure you're not dragging your trailer tires. Keeping your tail lights clean so that you don't get rear-ended, right? Especially if you have LEDs. Those LED bulbs don't make much heat, so they're gonna get covered in snow and ice faster than the regular tail lights that are not LED. So every time you stop, just get in the habit of walking back there and put a glove on and brush that snow off all your tail lights on the trailer, and if you're bobtailing, on the tractor, so people can see you. You don't want to get rear-ended because somebody can't see you. Also, the LED headlights these days, there are new. I've seen headlights where they make them heated because the LEDs, they'll build up snow. They don't make any heat, but just keep your headlights cleaned off so you can see where you're going. Anybody who's been around for a while has probably experienced this, where you're driving through a snowstorm and it's colder than heck outside, and all of a sudden you get an alarm that your truck is overheating. Well, what's happening here is your grill in front of the truck is iced over. You can't get any air through that grill to go through your radiator to cool it. So you'd be like, it's 10 below zero and I'm overheating. What in the hell's going on with this truck? Well, go out and take your hand and just pound that ice off the grill on the front of your truck. Careful not to break your plastic up there. And you got to get some air coming through that grill so the truck can cool down. The first time it's ever happened to you, probably like scared the heck out of you. Like something bad's really going on here. No, you just can't get any air through the front grill of your truck. Tires. Obviously, make sure you have enough tread depth on your tires to be safe, in bad weather. Tire chains, if you're running out west, it doesn't hurt to carry 1 or 2 tire chains, no matter who you are, just in case you get stuck somewhere. You can throw that chain on, or even if you just throw it under your tire to get some traction to get it unstuck. But low air pressure, all right, can lead to poor traction. Poor traction, you need that traction when you're driving. You get stuck in some bad weather. Also, though, it can lead to poor braking. Bad low air pressure. If you got low air pressure in all your tires, or a couple tires that are flat and you don't know about it, that's going to affect your braking, which, in a bad road could put you in a jackknife or rear end somebody. You didn't stop in time. All these things become more important in the bad weather. And also low air pressure can lead to blowouts. Something really important to pay attention to is your fifth wheel. If you've been in some bad weather and you look up underneath, you're going to see all kinds of ice and snow built up around that fifth wheel, in your axles, underneath the truck. That fifth wheel can freeze solid. If you're driving around bobtail in bad weather, all that stuff's going to get even more into your fifth wheel, and it's going to freeze. I had my fifth wheel freeze up a couple days ago, and I couldn't hook up to a trailer. So I got a long bar, and I went up in there where the locking jaw is, and you don't want to beat it to death, but you got to tap and chisel that ice out. Okay, and then when you hook up to the trailer, you should do this every time anyway. Flashlight, get underneath and make sure them locking jaws come all the way around. Make sure you hear everything lock in that you look. Make sure that arm went in. Okay, make sure everything locked in there the way it's supposed to, because I've seen them jaws come halfway around. Well, as soon as you make a turn, you're probably going to lose that trailer. Ice down in there will raise heck with your fifth wheel, and that's the problem you really don't want to have. You're going to be out there doing the crank of shame, cranking up that trailer you dropped on your frame, if you're lucky. If you're unlucky and it stays hooked just long enough to get out on the freeway, and you lose it at freeway speed, you're gonna be in a real bad situation. Make sure that your fifth wheel has lubrication on it. A dry fifth wheel, it can affect your steering. And if you're out there suddenly, doing hokey pokey on some icy roads or something, you want all the steering reaction you can. You don't want that fifth wheel to be binding up on a dry apron for the trailer with no lubrication. You want everything in the steering to be in your favor. Obviously, watch your steps on your truck. If you're driving in some bad weather, you may not think of it. Say you got to pull over and bang the ice off your windshield wipers, and you hop out of your truck. You're going to do it real quick because you're parked on a ramp or emergency pull off or something. You take that first step out onto your steps and whammo, right on your ass you're going to go, because you built up a whole bunch of ice on your steps, didn't even think about it. So be cognizant of your steps icing up, getting in and out of the trailer. You don't want to get hurt. That's a long ways to fall. And if you fall, you know how rough them steps are, and you fall on your back, and you're going to scrape your back all the way down them tread plates on them steps. Oof, that's going to rip and tear. That's going to hurt a good bit. And then the same with getting in the truck. You can go ass over tea kettle getting up in the truck. That's no fun. I've done that. I speak from experience on that. I'm a bigger guy. It's not good to have 1 foot up in the truck and 1 foot on the ground slipping, and you're doing the splits to like you're ice skating or something. Your wiper blades. Carry extra wiper blades. Carry a couple extra. Worst case scenario, if you are down to 1 wiper blade, take the one off the passenger side, put it on the driver's side so you can see. I've had these things break right off the truck going down the road. Ice will rip the rubber off them. Winter is hell on wiper blades. If it's your truck and you can afford it, I've always wanted to get a pair of them heated wiper blades. Someday I'm going to have them. But I carry like 3, 4, 5 extra wiper blades. I don't spare any expense on those, because if you can't see, you can't drive. You can't drive safely, which you probably should be off the road at that point anyway. But there's times when you get hung out there and you just got to find a place to park, and you just need to get there. And wiper fluid. Make sure it's good winter fluid, treated down to negative temperatures. Last quick thing here is your air dryer. You need your air system to function so that you can move the truck and do everything you need to do. Now, your air dryer cartridge, I like to change that once a year just before winter starts. So you're going into winter with a clean, dry air dryer cartridge. The more moisture that thing's got in it, the more likely it is to freeze up. Had one freeze up last week. And also with that, your air governor. Identify where your air governor is on the truck. They can be in different places. They can be up by the air compressor. They can be on the air dryer. They can be under the truck. Identify where your air governor is. And I've had those things freeze up. I like to carry, I carry a little micro torch for all kinds of different things. They're good for, heat shrink and butt connectors, blah, blah, blah. You may need at some point to, take your micro torch and just put it on that air governor a little bit and heat it up to let it allow your truck to build air pressure again. Careful not to get it on plastic fittings, the push connects, whatever you got. Just keep it on the metal. You ain't trying to make it glow red. You're just trying to warm it up to melt any ice in there. Ice can build up in those things. But if you drain it goes back to draining your air tanks regularly. If you do that, keep the moisture down, keep the moisture low, this is less likely to happen to you. Great. That is our January safety meeting. Next month, we'll get back into some different things with logs and some different topics. That should cover pretty much anything for the winter between last month and this month. Like I said, if you have any winter tips for other drivers, leave them in the comments below. If you need to, for compliance, prove your attendance here, drop a link in, drop a comment that says attended, and then if on-site audit, you can come back to that and say, hey, here's the safety meeting that I did, and thanks for participating. Be safe. Let's make safety. I'll tell you what, this is January 2024. Let's make safety a priority this year, because guess what? All of these shady players and shady characters in the industry that we want to go away, they're also mostly unsafe. So let's improve our safety. Let them go ahead and trash their safety records. Hopefully they don't damage us in the process. And then that'll help them weed them right the hell out of the industry. So everybody, please be careful, be safe, and we will see you next month.